Hi, I'm Chef Alan Tetreault with Global Sugar Art. There are a lot of companies that make gum paste cutters, and they come out with new ones all the time. Rarely does a company come out with a cutter that I just think is a home run. And Marion Frost from Patchwork Cutters has come out with her mix and match side design cutters, which I absolutely love. There's so much potential with this set of cutters, and we're going to show you today just a few of the things you can do with them. The set comes with 12 different cutters, and you can mix and match the pieces to create all sorts of side designs, from fun to more serious contemporary and classical looks on your cake. For the gum paste that I'm going to be using today, I also want to introduce not a new product, but a product that I have really fallen in love with, and that is Chocopan's gum paste. It comes in several different colors, and we have found this to be such a phenomenal product. You can roll it super thin, and it doesn't rip when you try to thin the edges, and it works really well with these with these patchwork cutters from Marion Frost. Let's get started. The first decoration that I'm going to show you is sort of this classic side design right here, and I'm going to be using 3 different cutters from Marion's set. This is one. This is going to be the white part, and then the small pink part in the center, and then for the very center she has these nice little rosebuds, and I'm going to be using that, and I just pearlize those before I put them in. I'm not going to show every single border that you see here today because the process is the same. Once you know how to make 1 or 2 borders, you can make as many as you want. This is another border with the same technique of overlapping or layering different size cutters with different colors to create that look. So I'm starting with some white gum paste, and this is the Chocopan gum paste. And I'm just going to roll this out. You can either roll it by hand, or I prefer to use a pasta machine. Before I put it through the pasta machine, I'm going to take a little bit of white shortening. This is just a white vegetable fat, a very little bit, and I'm just going to wipe that on the board. That's going to help the paste stick to the board. I'm going to start this on a number 1, and I'm going to bring this down to about a number 5 setting. And we'll go one more so we get the number 5. Now that's actually a little bit thicker than I need it, but watch what happens. When I put this on the board, then I'm going to use my rolling pin, and I'm just going to roll over it once. And that's just going to thin it a little bit, but it also adheres it to the board. That shortening is making it stick to the board. Then I take the cutter that I want. Just dip your finger in the vegetable shortening and just apply a little bit. And then just push on the outside edges to cut the pieces. And we don't have to cut very many to show you this process. So we'll do maybe 3 or 4. And while I have this here, I'm also going to do the rosebuds. Just lightly grease that, and I'm going to do 4 rosebuds. It's really good to put just a little bit of shortening, or if you have a little bit of the shortening on your hands, every 2 or 3 times you cut, put a little bit on. There. Now I'm just going to cut away the extra paste. I'm going to pull that off the board, and the pieces will stay right on the board. And that's exactly what I want to happen. Unlike other flower cutters, where you want to make sure that it's very loose on the board, with these you don't. And the little roses are coming right out. You can see they'll stay right there as I pull the paste out. There. So I have my 4 rosebuds and this first part. Now, depending on which brand of gum paste you use, or flour paste as it's referred to in Europe, they have different textures, different consistencies. Some are firm and some are very soft. This is what I would consider a fairly firm paste. If you find that the pieces will not hold their shape well enough for you, you can mix a little bit of Tylose in the gum paste and let it sit for 5 minutes, and then it'll work really well. So I only have let these sit for maybe a minute or two. Just use a thin blade, get under the end, and then just pick up the whole thing. And I'm just laying them on this sponge pad so that they dry a little bit. And as they dry a little, they'll hold their shape very well. For the rosebuds, I'm actually going to put those on a paper towel because I'm going to put a little bit of pearl dust on these. I could use a pink luster dust or a petal dust. You could airbrush these, or you can just leave them as they are. So I'm going to let those dry for just a second, and I'm going to get out my light pink. I only need 4 small pieces. Always knead your paste before you use it to make sure it's nice and relaxed and smooth. And we'll put this right through a number 5 as well. Put a little bit of grease or shortening on the board. I didn't press really hard, just enough to smooth it, adhere it, and thin it a little bit. And now I'm using the center of this design. Put a little shortening on there, and I'm going to cut 4. And then I can just pull my paste right off. I can't stress enough that the consistency of your paste is one of the most important things in using Marion's cutters. Normally, these are always done with Mexican paste, which works really, really well. Mexican paste gets very, very hard and brittle. The gum paste gets hard, but not as brittle as the Mexican paste, so it works better for a side design. So again, if you find that you can't get these off the board and they're just too stretchy, mix in a little Tylose. I would say for about a ½ pound, about 8 ounces of gum paste, you would mix in about a ½ teaspoon of Tylose and knead it well and let it sit 10 or 15 minutes, and then you'll have a great consistency to work with. So I have my 3 components ready. I'm going to take a little teeny bit of luster dust, or excuse me, this is super pearl, and I'm just going to shine those roses up a little. And like I said, you could do these in any color you choose. Okay, and now we're going to put it all together. Using a water brush, I'm just going to put a little dot of water in the center of each one. And then lift the center piece and just center those right in the middle. That one didn't get centered, so I'm going to take that one off. And I'm going to recenter it. There we go. That's better. Try to keep them as uniform as you can. And then one more little dot of water in the center of each one. And you can lay the rosebuds right in the center. These are small. I really like working with a little palette knife like this. It makes decorating much easier. And the last one. There. Okay. So I have my 4 pieces ready. Now I'm ready to apply them to the side of the cake. And I've already done part of the cake so that you can see how this works. The best thing to do right now, you can sort of tell, if I can lift this up and it holds its shape like it is, they're ready to go on the cake. But if you find they're sort of flopping over, then either your paste is too soft or you just haven't let them air dry long enough. And of course, this is all going to depend on the humidity inside your kitchen. So if it's hot and humid, it may take longer to dry them to this state. So I'm just going to flip that over, squeeze out a little, get my water pen working here. And then I'm going to start right down at the bottom. Just try to line that straight up and down. You technically could put these on layer by layer, but I find that it's just much easier to do all the layers ahead of time. There. It doesn't take a lot of water on the back, just a little bit. And we'll put on one more layer. I'm sort of working at an odd angle here so you can see it on the camera. Let me show you a trick that will work really well. I have a cake on this side I'm just going to remove. And I have a tilting turntable over here. And this is great. I'm going to tilt this all the way down. And let's turn this to the camera. And you can see now how I have a much better angle to work on. Now I can lift that right up and put that on. There. So the tilting turntable really is a great tool. If this were facing me, and this is how I would normally do it, with everything facing me so that I can align everything up perfectly straight up and down and even horizontally. Having this angle is very, very beneficial. This border is now completed, at least for the half of the cake that I wanted to show you. This is another border. This is done with a square piece, and then we used this piece in the center. And there's a very tiny little 4-petal blossom that we used in the very center of that one. So that's how that one was made. A cake like this can be easily finished with a couple of gum paste flowers. Here I just have some hydrangeas and a rose. A beautiful Mother's Day cake, a birthday cake, shower, whatever occasion you want. A very, very simple and easy cake to make that doesn't require a tremendous amount of skill to get a really nice polished, finished look on your cake. We're going to move on now and make something a little more contemporary and a little fun and a little more juvenile. For this cake, I decided to try to use what looked like very geometrical shapes, but try to give them some three-dimensional life. I began with this cutter right here. Now, you can use this cutter and use this tail piece on here on or off. It'll come off very easily if you want once you cut the piece. So I've prepared my gum paste in the same way. I've put it through the pasta machine, I've greased the board, and I've attached it to it. When you cut a piece like this, press on the bottom, and then don't press right where the oval joins the stem. Because if you press hard there, the two pieces may come apart when you're taking them off the board. So I'm going to press all around the outside edge and on the bottom piece, but I'm not pressing right there. And then I'll pop that up. And we'll cut one more. Let's go this way with it. So all around here, and then the bottom. And I also cut one of these 4 petals out of the yellow because I'm going to show you a different decoration. and I've cut some of the small 4-petal out of the yellow, and I'm also going to need some out of orange. And my green leaves have already been cut using this cutter, and those are waiting, drying and getting ready to use. So now I'm just going to peel off. I'm going to put this one aside. That's for a different decoration in a minute. And we're just going to pull this back. And you can see by not pressing in the center like I showed you that they've stayed together. And let's just pop out these little 4-petal blossoms. Whoops. My paste dried a little bit as I was getting all the others ready. Otherwise those would have stuck to the board. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to take the center out. Just gently pull that out. If the center doesn't come out easily, it's because you haven't greased the cutter well enough before you cut it, or your paste is too thick and it's not cutting all the way through. Then what I like to do is, using a nice flat edge, come up from the bottom and then just lift the whole thing and put it right on the foam board to dry for a minute, and it will hold its shape. There, we have 3 of those ready. Let's see, and we have our little yellow blossoms for the center. Okay. Now I can show you how these go on your cake. We can actually do one on either end. I'm going to flip that over, put a little bit of water. Oops. And we'll do one more. Again, this is not the best angle to be decorating at, but I want you to see how it goes on. There we go. And I have my leaves, which was this cutter right here. I'm just going to put a little bit of water on the bottom part. I'm not putting it at the top, because I'm going to put those right in between, and then I'm going to allow the tips to curl back. And it gives that little 3-dimensional look of grass. Sometimes it's better to let this dry for a few minutes and then come back and try and curl them, and the paste will hold its shape better, but we've got that one going. For the center, put a very small dot of water and then just add your little blossom. And then for the very center, I just made a really teeny ball of orange. Of course, you can use whatever colors you'd like. A little dot of water and the little center of your flower. And that's all there is to making a nice floral side design for a, could be for a children's cake, could be for a number of occasions, but I think it's sort of fun to have a nice 3-dimensional border. If it does fall, it's because I didn't stick it on there well enough with some water, and there we go. This border was made using the round cutter, and I took the center out, I allowed them to dry, and I put them on. And then I cut one of the large 4-petal out of yellow. And I'm going to use a cell tool here. Let's see, where did I do with it? And I'm just going to cup this. Just bring that in. Sort of cup it together. And then using the very small 4-petal cutter with some orange. That became my center. And I have one open right here. Just put a little bit of water on there. And just put that right in the center and press. And then you can cup the petals in. And there's another 3-dimensional border using the same cutters. So the set of cutters is not only for sort of the elegant, very traditional look of side designs, but you can make some really, really fun, more youthful and just nice 3-dimensional borders. I hope you've enjoyed this short video. Again, these are Marion Frost Patchwork Cutters, and we carry all the Patchwork Cutters at globalsugarart.com. This cake I didn't show you because the technique is the same no matter which cutter you use. But this was the damask cutter that I used on this cake. And after they dried for a minute on a paper towel or on a sponge or a foam pad, I used some of my hybrid luster dust, the Alan Tetreault brand of hybrid luster dust, mixed it with a little bit of lemon extract, and I painted these to get that color. And actually this top border was this cutter, the same one I used on this cake, and I just cut them in half, and that created a border for me. So there are multiple uses for these cutters. Again, this is the mix and match side cutter set from Patchwork Cutters. I used the Choco Pan gum paste today because I found this worked very, very well, not only making flowers, but working with these cutters. The Atlas pasta machine works incredibly well so that you have a really uniform thickness on your paste, and that makes these cutters work even better. Have a great day. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and all the products are available at globalsugarart.com. Thanks for watching.